Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Pisces energy, and like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I'll refer to as high vibe Pisces energy, the bottom row a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy. We all have to make decisions in our life, and we can struggle within ourselves. We might want to move forward in life differently, have more hope and faith and belief in ourselves and in our dreams. But it can be challenging just because the bottom row can represent our habits. And if we were to move forward in life differently, maybe we wouldn't stay on certain jobs, friendships, or relationships that we're in. We could have people in our life who don't want to go do those things, don't view life that way, and we'd have to find different people to go do those things with. And so all those things can be difficult. So that's what the two rows could kind of talk about, that some people are struggling within themselves. Do I stay in my comfort zone? Do I move forward in life differently? And just like you're doing that, or other people could be doing that within themselves, other people are doing that within themselves. But at any given moment in time, some people made the decision, I am going to move forward in life differently. Other people could have decided they're going to keep doing life the way they've been doing it. And if we were hoping some of those people would move forward with us, but they're going to keep doing life the way they've been doing it, we got to deal with the truth of that. So, Pisces energy, which we all tap into, is that emotional water sign energy that helps us transition out of one way of living life to living life differently. And it has to do with what we find emotionally fulfilling, what our dreams are. Some people are more independent of things that manipulate them, that some other people could still be manipulated by. Some people are more codependent on other people or the world than being more independent. So we'll take all those things into consideration. At the end, we're going to get some cards out to find out what a possible outcome could be for people that they might not see coming. Let's go look at the bottom row first. The reason for the bottom row's reading is the Ten of Pentacles. So the Ten of Pentacles we live our life at a phase of life, and it's kind of like we've learned everything we need to learn there. And in order to move forward in life, we need to look at kind of some of the things in our life that we need to let go of, and what are the good building blocks to take with us moving forward. We would have went through that process, age 15 going to age 18, age 18 going to 21, age 21 going to 25. And I think we repeat that process throughout our life. But we can get to, we got a lot of peer pressure when we're young to kind of keep up with our peer group. But when we get older, people can have a way of viewing life, and they don't want to add anything new or do things any differently. And, so long as they're not having tension or conflict about living their life that way, then it's okay to stay at the Ten of Pentacles. There might be other people in a group or a family or a workplace where there is something about it that is causing them some mental conflict, because the reason for the top row's reading is the Six of Swords, and the Six of Swords moves away from the Five of Swords, which is mental conflict. Both the Five and the Six of Swords are about Aquarius energy of we had a dream of how we envisioned our life going, what kind of motivated and inspired us. And maybe how some people view and want to live their life, that is like their dream life, and they're happy living their life that way. And we just kind of are like, we come in contact with all these different people to help us get clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. The bottom row can be that people are more kind of caught up in a more worldly view of life versus a more looking at life from a higher perspective. That's a difference in Aquarius energy. What is it more about me, more about the world, ego, image, status, indulgence? Or do I think there's more to life than that? And we might want and have stability and security and these things we enjoy doing in life, but willing to step outside of societal norms to bring needed change to the world, because high vibe energy is about giving birth to new things. If everybody were to repeat the same old thing all the time, we'd never give birth to anything new. And high vibe energy wants to give birth to new things. That's how we move forward in life. If we all had done the same thing since caveman days, we'd all be cave people, right? And some people are ready to give birth to something new, other people aren't. So we have the Queen of Swords, the Knight of Wands in reverse, the Eight of Swords, and the Five of Cups. In the Queen of Swords, which is also I view as Aquarius energy, some people, I'm happy living my life the way I live it. This is how I want to live my life. The Knight of Wands I view as Sagittarius energy, which is about higher learning and education, which some people have no interest in that. I'm happy living my life and viewing life the way I live it. I want to keep living my life this way. I don't maybe want to step outside of societal norms to bring needed change. High vibe energy, again, is being more independent, shining your more authentic light in the world. And some people are like, no, I'm more maybe about conforming to the world and making my life about these things. I don't want to be more independent from my friend group, from my family, from a workplace, from the world. This is how I want to live my life. And the Eight of Swords can be where some people might be kind of in a mental prison about being more independent from a friend group, family group, workplace, the world. Might be people who like to live more from their mind than their heart. Because otherwise, you'd have to be more balanced in the shadowy bottom row can mean that people are tipped out of balance just a little bit or a lot. But it could be, again, more about driven and motivated more by these things of the world, or to maybe not connect in with the truth, which is your more loving, intuitive, hopeful, believing nature. That scares me. I don't want to listen to love and intuition to guide me. I want to live my life doing maybe what seems practical and grounded and makes me feel safe and secure, living more from my mind than my heart. And then we have the Five of Cups. The Eight of Swords shows an emotional figure, and so a feminine figure. And the feminine figures can represent how we think and feel. And it's headed this way. Nope, I'm going to go back to a feminine figure again in how I think and feel, which the Queen of Swords can be, I'm defensive. I'm defensive of change. I'm defensive. I get caught up in my head and these fears and these insecurities or these self-limiting beliefs. So I keep getting caught up in my head. The Queen of Swords typically holds one sword. The Eight of Swords, the difference between the 1 and the 8 is the 7. And the Seven of Swords, again, is Aquarius energy. So a lot of Aquarius energy going on here, which also is about our dreams. I want a dream to come into reality. I could be in a job, a friendship, a relationship that by worldly standards looks very successful and stable and grounded and abundant in a lot of ways. And I really get caught up in my head about being inspired to love and believe in myself and believe in my dreams. And so I'm going to stay in the foundation and living my life the way I live my life. The Five of Cups is Scorpio energy. Am I willing to work through my regrets of the past, and my past pain and heartbreak, and my fears and my insecurities about believing in myself and believing in my dreams? What if I go pursue something else and it doesn't work out and I'm left in regret? What if it doesn't work out the way I thought? I should just stay where I'm at. Well, then they keep moving forward kind of in a mental prison about loving and believing in themselves, and they might stay in something. In a typical Rider-Waite Five of Cups, they're looking at the past and the Three Cups of working together with people from love that didn't work out, instead of looking to the future, and at the Two of Cups of having hope and faith and belief in their dreams and loving themselves and believing in themselves to move forward in life. And some people just, that could be the roadblock. I would have to work through those things of my past that didn't work out the way I wanted, because the truth sets us free. And it could cause some people a lot of mental conflict to work through those issues from their past that keeps them repeating an old pattern of maybe being defensive to believing in themselves, believing in their dreams. Maybe some people could have done something that caused pain and heartbreak in a situation and it didn't move forward. And then, the Seven of Swords can be where we kind of get caught up in things, get caught up in our head, could have been caught up in ourselves, caught up in the world, caught up in looking like a shining star. Some people could have did something kind of deceptive and manipulative. Life's about learning lessons, and it could have caused some regrets in a relationship, and some other people could have moved away from them. Maybe they didn't tell the truth. The Seven of Swords can be about being deceptive and manipulative, and they could have been deceptive and manipulative either because they are very immature in a way, because the Knight of Wands can be like, someone has some lessons to learn. In tarot, we have the pages, then we have the knights, then we have the kings and queens, then we have the emperor and empress and the hierophant and high priestess. Some people just have a lot of lessons to learn. Again, they could do, because they get caught up in their head or their fear or their insecurity, or they kind of indulge their much more immature nature, and they might have people in their life, friends or family, that kind of maybe live their life that way, or kind of let them get away with those kind of things. And maybe they're those kind of people too. And maybe they do think that people should live their life this certain way, and people shouldn't be more, look at life differently. People should, this is how you do things, this is how you should live your life. And if you don't live your life the way we live our life, then we are going to do hurtful and unkind things to make you go. Because people can view themselves as like, I'm this loving, nurturing, stable, supportive, encouraging person that people should view me as this type of person. But then if they have people who come into their life that aren't as, caught up in their ego or their image or full of themselves, and those people kind of have seen through the illusion of their more immature, fearful, bossy, controlling, self-centered nature, and those people are more loving and encouraging and just and fair and balanced, well, some people don't like that. I don't like that you are the real deal. I like to present myself as being that type of person, and I might have money or status or image and look very successful in the world, and I like people to view me as that type of person, even though I'm not really driven and motivated by love. We're either building a foundation and making decisions in our life from love, and love is to be just and fair, where we get out of our more egotistical, self-centered, immature ways of being. We grow up and we learn lessons in life, and we treat other people the way we like to be treated in a more just and fair and balanced and emotionally mature way. But some people kind of haven't learned those lessons yet, and they do think if I have a certain status or image, people should view me as a loving person, I view myself as a loving person, can get along in the world in a lot of ways. But if someone who is more authentically loving and more emotionally mature than them, they don't like those people being around. I want to get rid of you. I might do things kind of deceptive and manipulative because I don't want to even see the truth within myself, that I could be hurtful and unkind to you because I don't view myself that way. But it causes me this mental conflict because you are someone who's maybe more emotionally mature and loving and authentic and just and fair. I like to view myself that way. It causes me mental conflict. I don't like you being around. I want to get rid of you, but I don't want to deal with the truth of it. So I deceive myself, and then might do these kind of immature, hurtful things. And then eventually you leave. I don't want people to know the truth that I didn't like you because you are more loving or balanced or mature or just or fair. You have freed yourself from some things to make you not act and live life like I live life. But I don't want people to know that you're more emotionally mature or stable or grounded or loving. So I might then try to deceive people because I don't want to see the truth myself. And then, the thing is, they keep having some of these regrets from the past that they really didn't act in truth and love and character and integrity. But people have the free will to keep staying in denial of the truth. No, that's not why I did it. No, and they just don't want to see the truth. And part of it can be because they have these unresolved issues within their own life of past pain and heartbreak and fears or insecurities, or Scorpio energy that anyone can harness. Some people are more emotionally shallow and superficial, and it is about their image in the world and their status in the world, and like to present themselves as a loving, stable, just, fair person, but they're kind of more emotionally shallow and superficial. And they're not really operating from a foundation of love. And then when they get in relationships with people who are operating from a foundation of love, then it causes all this kind of inner conflict within them because it kind of illuminates that they're not really operating from love, that it could be these fears or these insecurities or living more from their mind than their heart, or their ego or their image is more what drives them, and they don't want to deal with the truth of it. They act in kind of maybe some defensive ways, some immature ways. Shadowy energy could be trying to control and manipulate people to get them to do what you want in a relationship. And then other people in their life don't like that, and they're hurt, and they're confused, and they don't know why they're acting like this. And the people in their life then have this struggle within themselves. I could love this person. I wanted a dream to come into reality with this person. I wanted to marry them. I did marry them. I thought we were going to work together to bring a dream into reality. Then those people have to go through all this inner conflict about dealing with the truth of the situation, not wanting to see the truth of the situation. And you could know some people right now that are in those type of situations where they're just really struggling within themselves about seeing the truth. I keep moving forward in a relationship, and they're not working with me cooperatively in love. But I love them. I keep not wanting to deal with the truth of it because I don't want to move away from it. So you might know some people that are struggling like that, just like some of you already struggled with something like that in a relationship. And when we're ready to deal with the truth of what this mental conflict or this conflict in how we want to move forward in life and what our idea of the dream life and dream relationship is, and if some people are more motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness, and some other people are more motivated by themselves or their defensive nature, living more from their mind than their heart, not having to deal with things that manipulate them, and when we're ready to deal with the truth, we deal with the truth. And some people aren't ready to deal with the truth. Some other people were already in those situations and they're like, I can't keep staying here. And the Ten of Pentacles can mean that nothing's changing. After we live a phase of life where we think that everybody should have learned some of these lessons in life, and we have hope and faith and belief in our dream, and think we're all motivated and inspired by love and healing and growing and maturing ourselves, we let go of the Ten of Pentacles, a phase of living life, to give birth to something new. But some people are really afraid of stepping outside their comfort zone and giving birth to something new, because it is like going into unknown territory. You know, it's the same thing when people are like, oh my gosh, some people went off and went to college. Oh my gosh, I'm scared of going to college, so I'm going to stay here. I might watch, see how it goes for you. And if it seems to go okay for you and you're telling me all about it, then maybe next year I would be willing to go off to college. You know, we've all had to deal with these things. Or we all might want to leave this job, but you're the only one who left. I'm going to watch you and see how it goes for you. And then I've got to do this work within myself of dealing with all my fears and insecurities about believing I can let go of this job to go get a new job, you know? And so we all have to work through that of, we can all be tempted to want to stay in our comfort zone for a lot of reasons, to stay in certain jobs, friendships, and relationships, because then we don't have to let go of anything, you know? And we'd have to harness some fire sign energy to be willing to go into unknown territory. I have to face my fears. And some people kind of reject their more high vibrational fire sign energy of Aries and Leo and Sagittarius, of being more bold and brave and confident, living their more authentic life, being more independent from friend groups, family groups, the world at large, are just in more codependent energy and could be more still caught up just more in things of the world. And that's still what drives and motivates them than living their more authentic life. And some people, with this Five of Cups, some people keep waiting for other people to rescue them. The bottom row can be like repeating a pattern. Instead of working through our own mental confusion and what do we do when we're moving forward in something, and then things are going on that cause us mental conflict, or we think people are kind of being deceptive or manipulative or harsh or cold or bossy or controlling or stubborn, unbudging. You know, it causes us this mental conflict. Why are these people acting like this? Or even within myself, why do I seem, as time goes by, to have more mental conflict? Am I willing to not give in to my more immature nature just to feel better? Am I willing to reject taking more immature action and look at life from a higher perspective and offer love to the situation? Because Gemini energy is about our dualistic nature. Am I going to take more immature action, be more about myself, just try to feel better, make myself more about me or the world? Or am I going to align with my more loving, hopeful, believing nature and loving nature and work through these issues within myself, and that could make me stay in situations that I have a lot of mental conflict in? Is it just within me? Or when I work through those issues within myself and I'm ready to move forward and I communicate my truth to the people in my life, then do I see that really some of the issues and the reasons I felt the way I did after I do this work within myself to work through my own fears and insecurities and past pain and heartbreak, and I communicate with them, I am ready to move forward in this way, that then they're not willing to move forward within me with me in that way. And then I kind of can see that part of the reason I had all this mental conflict, yes, I did probably have to do some work within myself, but maybe a lot of it was things I wasn't wanting to see about the people in my life. And kind of how they view life, what motivates them, their idea of the dream life, the dream relationship. And it was maybe causing me some inner conflict because maybe that's not really my truth. And I thought it was. But we come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is. And then we struggle within ourselves to detach from those things when we find out they're not our truth. Because then people will be sad and I'll be sad because I wanted them to move forward with me. But we view life differently. What drives and motivates us is different. What we find maybe emotionally fulfilling and how we want to keep living our life is different. And eventually the high vibe people work through the regrets of it. And they do put in this work and effort to free themselves to deal with the truth of it. Other people might be in those same situations, but they're looking for someone to come in. You know, it's kind of like we'd all like people if we were going to break up with people and other people were going to break up with us. We'd like people to break up with us. Not because someone else came in their life, right? But a lot of times, especially when we're younger, and there's so many different people maybe available in your life to be in relationships with when you're younger. Sometimes it's kind of going from one codependent relationship to another codependent relationship. Some people have a lot of fear of just being independent. High vibe energy is about being more independent. High vibe Pisces is learning to fill your own cup emotionally, giving yourself that cup of love to work through your own mental conflict, your past pain and heartbreak, being loving and encouraging to yourself, so you don't get caught up all in your head and your fears and your insecurities. High vibe energy is about maintaining balance within yourself, offering yourself love and compassion and forgiveness so that you can move forward in a more balanced way. And the sixes in tarot can talk about moving forward in a more balanced way, working through your past pain and heartbreak, growing and healing and maturing yourself. And some people throughout their life have learned how to do that within themselves. Other people haven't learned how to do that within themselves. And then they can look to get in relationships with people or look to indulge in other things in the world to be the answer to their problems. And they never maybe do some of this work within themselves. And other people did do the work within themselves. And some people are just in more codependent energy. They could have people in their life. You shouldn't live your life like that. You shouldn't hang out with those people. Even if you were in a long-term relationship with people, if other people in their life, their friend group, or people in their family say, I don't like that person, you shouldn't hang out with that person anymore. Some people aren't willing to be more independent from their friend or family group. Up here we have the marriage card. Well, it looks like a marriage card. It's 10 of Cups, Pisces energy. Just some people aren't willing to live their own authentic life. If they have people in their life that say, at some given point, I don't like those people, you should let those people go. Some of these people will let those people go because that is the people they're codependent on, is their main foundation for a sense of stability and security in their life. Even if those people are just a friend group, or their family, not even people they can marry. But if that is who they're more codependent on, and they're not willing to do this work within themselves to figure out, why do I let my friend group or my family group kind of manipulate me and control me? Why am I not willing to be more independent, pursue my own dreams, hang out with the people, and go get the jobs and do the things in my life in high vibe energy from truth and love? Why do I not kind of have hope and faith and belief in myself? And some people keep being codependent on those people. They're never willing to be more independent from them, but it can also be being more independent from the world, because what does drive and motivate them is more about having a certain status or image and what they wear and what they drive and how people view them. And some people will never become more independent from this more worldly view of life. This is the most important thing: what I look like, what I drive, how much money I have, who I'm hanging out with. And if they get in a relationship with someone who is more independent, that can cause them a lot of stress and anxiety, because you're not making your life about conforming to the world. You are like outside the box. You kind of live your more authentic life. And then they also could be afraid that, you're going to find people who are more on the same page as you, who aren't as manipulated by these things as they are. And then out of their own fear and insecurity and their ego and their image that one day you'll leave, then they can sabotage a relationship instead of doing the work within themselves about why they are unwilling to be more authentically themselves and why they don't have more hope and faith and belief in the relationship. But if they know, I'm not willing to live a more independent life, I'm not willing to kind of step outside societal norms or making my life more about these things, and you are, they could be sad. But they also, because they're so caught up in their ego and their image and how people view them, they could kind of do some deceptive and manipulative things. Even like if it was a romantic relationship, I'm going to be defensive to being kind of in a romantic gesture towards you in a relationship, because I have these fears and insecurities that maybe you seem more confident or loving or than I am. And instead of me doing this work within myself to figure out why I align with that way of living life and why am I not more like you if I like that way about you? But instead they just get caught up maybe in their lack mentality, that because they don't kind of love and believe in themselves, that one day you'll leave me. So basically I want you to leave. I just don't want to tell you the truth that I don't love and believe in myself, or I get caught up in all these fears and insecurities, or I am more about the world, or I am more codependent on these certain people. And I might do something deceptive and manipulative to hurt you, to make you leave. Sometimes we got to think that when people in our life are being defensive, not communicating with us, if it's not in a romantic relationship, not taking romantic action towards us, they either are egotistical and stubborn and unbudging, and you have to do things my way or the highway, and if you're not, then I don't want you here anyway. Or they want us to leave, and when are we going to see the truth? And then we can stay in relationships with people who are being hurtful and unkind. They're happy we don't love and believe in ourselves. And then they can be these unbudging, stubborn, bossy, controlling people because we don't love and believe in ourselves. And if people are waiting like, oh, well, I wouldn't leave this until someone else came along. It's like, okay, well, other people respect that other people are in a relationship. I mean, they might, not everybody in your life, if they're in a relationship or not, that you might communicate with someone, hey, we should hang out sometime. And they're like, oh, but it's like, unless you were to really keep pursuing them, they'd keep staying in that relationship until they think you're the next person that they can be like in more codependent energy with you. And some people did this work within themselves. They offered truth and love to people they were in a relationship with. I have mental conflict about the way things are going. You seem to be defensive to me, or you seem to be bossy and cold and detached. You seem to be more caught up in things of the world and your status and your ego and your image. You might do immature things. You don't communicate with me. You know, I'm sad in this relationship. This might make you happy because this might be how you want to live your life. You don't want to deal with your issues. I did deal with my issues. I want to move forward in life differently. You might have a lot of fears and insecurities that get you caught up in your mind. I worked through those things, and I've looked at life from a higher perspective. You might have things and people in the world that manipulate you. I worked through it. Those things don't manipulate me like that. Do you want to come with me or do you not? And some of those people could be really torn and sad also, but everybody has free will in their Gemini dualistic nature about what their truth is. And for some people, nope, it's more about this worldly dream or me or my defensiveness, or I'll indulge someone else for those things of the world, or someone should indulge me for those things of the world. I don't want to do a deep, meaningful relationship. I have issues from my past that I haven't dealt with. I might prefer to and be okay being in a more emotionally shallow, superficial relationship and life so long as I have those things. And if I'm more emotionally shallow and superficial because I am more about myself or those things of the world, then I don't think you'll love and believe in yourself, and I think you'll keep indulging me in this relationship. And some people did for quite a long time, and then some people said, like, this is an injustice. If I'm being loving and truthful and encouraging, I want to be in relationships with people who are like that. And if I've seen that some people have all these things that manipulate them, or what drives and motivates them is different than me, I'm going to speak my truth about it. Our dream is different. What drives and motivates you is different than what drives and motivates me. And in high vibe Pisces energy of the Ten of Cups, I am going in my free will Gemini energy. I make the free will choice to align with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And I'm not going to let my mind and my fear and the past pain and heartbreak and all those things manipulate me. I've worked through it to wish those things love, compassion, forgiveness, and those people in my life. I have a dream. And in an energy of hope and faith and belief and love, that is my truth. And you are moving forward in that energy. And as you're moving forward in that energy, some people still aren't seeing you clearly. Other people that are more manipulated to create an illusion in the world could think you're just creating an illusion in the world. Because you either are authentically who you say you are in the world, which some of these people aren't. They just create the illusion. I'm this just and fair and stable and grounded person who believes in love. But that's really not the truth. They try to get people in relationships with them. And they're hiding. They harness these energies in a more shadowy way. But until the people in their life see the truth, deal with their own past pain, heartbreak, fears, and insecurities to move on from them, they'll indulge in the relationship for as long as it works out for them, so long as it's good for their ego and their image and their status. But the high vibe people, what they didn't know, do harness these energies in a more high vibrational way. When they got in the relationship, could they have had some fears and insecurities, more caught up in things in the world, had some past pain and heartbreak they hadn't dealt with? Sure. But as time went by in the relationship, the high vibe people did the work within themselves to work through those issues because they do have a more hopeful, believing spirit. And eventually they work through it and they see the truth. And some of the people who try to present themselves as motivated and inspired by love could be in a new relationship with people. And the current people they're in a relationship with are having to struggle with this because eventually they see the truth that someone isn't who they said they are. That it's not going to be a more authentic, deep, meaningful relationship. And again, it could have look great by worldly standards, have stability and security and all those things. And then the next person in their life has to work through these issues within themselves. I have mental conflict staying, but, it'd be sad to leave, and I am in a relationship, and maybe they'll change, and maybe if I am loving and encouraging and try to help them work through their issues, and then how long do they spend time trying to get someone to work through their own fears and insecurities and past pain and heartbreak, which they maybe had no intention of doing anyway, or they would have been that kind of person to begin with. And then that person goes through all these issues within themselves. And if eventually the high vibe people in their life see the truth, they move on too. Let's go see what these cards are. The World, the Four of Wands, and the Seven of Pentacles. No, the Seven of Wands. The World card talks about being willing to learn lessons in life, where you learn lessons and you give birth to something new. I was 18. Now I'm going to be more like a 21-year-old. I don't want to repeat being like an 18-year-old. And some of these people in our world that we know, they could be 40, 50, 60 years old. But they have this way of living life and viewing life that they're unwilling to admit that they could benefit from learning some lessons in life. But you have to be willing to get out of your ego and your fear and your insecurity and your pride and all that stuff to learn lessons in life. And some people are unwilling to do that. Very defensive to change. This is how I view life. This is how I'm going to do it. And other people get in relationships with them and it's like, I didn't realize you were so defensive to change. But I don't want to keep living my life like at a certain phase of life, like I'm stuck in a time warp all my life. Life is about learning lessons. And I do learn lessons throughout my life. I incorporate that into how I move forward. And I detach from old ways of living life and viewing life. I take the good building blocks with me. I let go of the things that weren't conducive to moving forward in a more high vibe way and a more mature way. But they have mental conflict about doing that. But my foundation, kind of the Four of Wands, I'm inspired to keep moving forward to grow to my full potential. Wanting high vibe Leo, the Six of Wands and the Seven of Wands. I want to feel proud of myself. I could live my life a certain way forever. I could be stubborn. I could be defensive. I could be fearful. I could live more from my mind than my heart. I don't like having those things that manipulate me. I want to face my fears. The Seven of Wands comes after the Six of Wands. In the Six of Wands I want to take this inspired action to love and believe in myself, to overcome those things that manipulate me, to move on from them so I'm not dragging that baggage and that defensiveness and feeling betrayed and feeling deceived and being mad at people who didn't work with me cooperatively in love. They are who they are, and they were where they were at, and maybe they weren't someone who's learned how to be very just and fair and loving. I wish them peace. I am moving on. I am not giving up my dreams for people in my life that had their own issues. I wish them peace. I see that you haven't dealt with some of your issues. Well, I have come to a place of peace about it. I understand you are who you are. You got your issues that you have to deal with. If that makes you not a very just, fair, and loving person, I accept the truth of that. I wish you peace. I am not going to give up my dreams because I came into contact with people who were stubborn, prideful, materialistic, egotistical, defensive, in a mental prison, aren't creative and inspired, lack hope and faith and belief in themselves, could have been hurtful and unkind, are emotionally shallow and superficial or materialistic. I accept it and I'm moving on. But some of the people in our life dealt with people in their life who could have been like that to some degree or another. And it did stop them from believing in themselves and believing in their dreams. And until they're willing to work through those issues to free themselves from it, You're going to keep moving forward, wishing them peace and love. I hope you work through it one day. But until you do, my dream can only come into reality with people who have kind of learned some of the same lessons I've learned and freed themselves from some of the same things that I've kind of freed myself from. I'm not going to be harsh and cold and bossy and controlling to people. I'm not going to be stubborn and unbudging. I'm not going to take immature action in a relationship. I do this work within myself to not get all caught up in my head, so I sabotage myself and my relationships. I need to be in relationships with people who have learned how to do that within themselves also. And if that's not where you're at, I wish you peace. But I'm going to go find the people in the world who have done some of that same work within themselves to just kind of be on the same page as me in how they view life, how they view relationships, what they think is just and fair. And again, there's some people in the world who think, no, you can just create an illusion that you're that type of person and then get those people in a relationship with you and kind of trap them in a relationship with you because then they don't want to give up or they get in their ego about admitting that this isn't quite what they thought it was, or they found out the truth about me, or because of their own fears and insecurities and want for this to work, they'll stay in it anyway. That's an injustice. That is somebody being deceptive and manipulative. And there are people going out there in the world right now trying to deceive and manipulate someone else, hoping they can trap them in a relationship. That even when those people find out the truth, those people won't love and believe in themselves to basically call judgment on them. I'm going to get out of my ego about the fact that if I was being truthful and honest, or even if I had healing and growing and maturing to do, I thought we were going to do the healing and growing and maturing together. I thought we all had hope and faith and belief and love, and were willing to put in the work and effort for it, but apparently you weren't. I'm going to do this work within myself to get out of my ego about it, to let this go. And I'm going to move on. And eventually, they do this work within themselves to put an end to thinking that relationship was a victory worth defending, because they see the truth that it's not. But Scorpio energy, it's confusing because we have all these mixed emotions about people, and especially if they presented themselves as being a certain type of person, and then we found out they weren't that type of person. And people over time in a relationship, they could have started out okay, but there's no guarantee in life when people are going to kind of drive their life off into the ditch, and just to see the truth of it. I'm not going to stay in something just because it looks good on the surface in a lot of ways. I don't want to live a life of illusion. I don't want to live in a more emotionally shallow, superficial life and relationships. It's kind of like I want my divine inheritance. And if I've offered truth and love to people to move forward with me and they're not willing to do it, then I wish them peace and I keep moving on, and I see there is no victory worth defending there. So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy with the people in their life that they have probably communicated with, that this is how I am moving forward? Do you want to move forward with me in this way? We are no longer more caught up in the world, more caught up in just being about ourselves or operating from our ego. We're moving forward in truth and love to bring a dream into reality where we treat other people the way we like to be treated. We are motivated and inspired by truth and love. What is coming up for people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy? The Two of Cups in reverse and the Tower in reverse because of the Queen of Cups. So, I view the Queen of Cups as Scorpio energy. The Two of Cups could be kind of like the marriage card. But the Two of Cups in Cancer energy can be emotionally what we loved and what we were aligned with. You're no longer aligned with people who are operating from their more shadowy nature in the Tower card, and you're no longer aligned with that nature within yourself. Why? Because you learned how to love yourself, to be like a good mother to yourself. And when you learn to love yourself, you can be a very loving person to other people, but when we love ourselves, love requires truth and justice and fairness. And that could have been a lesson that people had to learn, to love themselves. And some of the people we were drawn and attracted to, we can love them, but do we have a deep, meaningful, loving relationship with them? Had we not learned to love and believe in ourselves, so we got in relationships with people, could have been more caught up in looking for people to provide that foundation for us in more codependent energy. And they could have also been in more codependent energy, but then as time went by, one person had hope and faith and belief and operates more from love and the other person doesn't. That I'm no longer aligned with and emotionally invested in my more immature, shadowy, worldly nature. And I don't want to be in relationships with people who are still kind of caught up in that. Why? Because I've learned to love myself and I've looked at life from a higher perspective. And I'm maintaining balance within myself, offering myself that cup of love to keep believing in my dreams. If there's people in my life that are in their own high vibe relationships that I might have met and made an offer to, and it's like, oh, you're in your own high vibe loving relationship? Okay. Well, I got to deal with the truth of that, and I keep believing in my dreams. And the people in my life who I know are more about the world, maybe more about themselves and ego and image, yeah, cutting those people out of my life because I don't want to be in a relationship with people who are more about themselves and the world or ego and image. I want to be in loving relationships with people. And the people in my life who are on that page with me and the people that I'm going to meet, then I am open and available to, when those people come around, to being in a relationship with them. Some people that you could have communicated with when you left one situation to move forward in another, to move out of that and move forward in your life. You could have communicated with some people, but some of those people got themselves tangled up in something. And they could still be a more codependent energy. And it's like, well, no, if you keep dogging on me, maybe I'll move forward with you. It's like, no, you got to get yourself out of this. Until you work through those things to become more independent yourself and love yourself, if you're in a relationship, I'm not going to interfere in that. You have to make that decision for yourself. And some people are like, oh, but I'd only get out of a relationship if someone else is willing to get in a relationship with me. It's like, well, then I guess you're going to stay in that relationship. I communicated my truth, and now I'm moving forward unless you do this work. And we have no guarantee because, sometimes some people you don't really know them well enough, or they're people that a relationship with didn't work out in the past and you're wondering, hey, I learned lessons. How about you? Are we on the same page now? Some of those people find themselves trapped in something, but they're not willing to get out of it for ego or image or money. Don't love and believe in themselves, have these issues they haven't worked through. It's like, well, I'm going to keep moving forward. And if you work through those issues and you do this work within yourself and you communicate with me that you're no longer aligned with that type of foundation and you're ready to move forward with me in this way, we'll talk to find out if we're on the same page. We just might move forward as friends and get to know each other, What's coming up for people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy that they might not see coming up? The Six of Wands. Why? Because of the Queen of Wands. So, 2 cards of Leo energy in shadow. Some people are more driven and motivated, again, by ego, image, money, materialism, either wanting people to indulge them, kind of living more from their mind than their heart, or they're willing to indulge someone else for those things, or they're kind of both on the same page. It would be a just and fair relationship if they're kind of defensive to love, because that puts them in a mental prison because they're afraid of being emotionally manipulated. Well, if they find someone else who's on that same page, that would be a just and fair relationship. They're both operating more from their defensive egoic nature. If they're both more about the world and ego and image and money and materialism because of issues, and they're more superficial and shallow, for them to be in a relationship with someone who's like that, that is a just and fair relationship. And if they can find someone who hasn't seen the truth of them, has their own fears and insecurities, is willing to move forward with them in a relationship, they view that as victorious. I guess it'll last as long as until the loving people in their life see the truth of them, and then it'll end. But at any given moment, some people who are more about themselves or ego or image or money and materialism are going to have some high vibe people in their life who try to work with them in a more high vibe way. And if these people keep being inspired, the shadowy people, to operate more from their ego, trying to manipulate and control people, being defensive, not communicating with people, doing hurtful, unkind things, hoping the high vibe people in their life will be hurt and in a mental prison of loving and believing in themselves, some of those high vibe people in their life are moving on. Why? There's lots of things in the world that can inspire us: books, movies, music, other people in our life, and just their own more authentic, loving nature. And eventually people work through this stuff within themselves. Why would I keep staying here? Yes, I could love them. Yes, I would like a long-term relationship with them. I already could be in a long-term relationship. But for some reason, they're starting to act in these shadowy ways or manipulative ways or hurtful ways, and I don't understand it. And as they work through it, it's like, I don't have to understand it. I'm going to move forward in my truth. I'm going to tell them they can come with me if they want, but it has to no longer be this. It has to be an authentic, deep, meaningful, authentic, loving relationship. No more operating from pride and ego, manipulation, intimidation. And if they're not, the high vibe people are going to keep moving on. And if these people keep acting like this, they are going to end up in a relationship with someone like themselves, which might be someone they're not happy being in a relationship with, because they're in a relationship with someone else who isn't being just and fair and authentic and loving, who might be in it more for the ego and the image and it works for them, who might be manipulative, prideful, controlling, stubborn, manipulative, in their own shadowy way, but they might stay in it anyway because it has all those things of the world. They're not willing to quit maybe being more about themselves and their ego and their image, and they might not be willing to speak the truth about how they maybe were kind of caught up in illusion and maybe we're kind of deceptive and manipulative or immature. You have to be willing to get out of your ego to admit you had lessons to learn. And some people, if they're all about their ego and their image and how people view them, they're unwilling to admit that they made mistakes. So they might move forward in a relationship that has them in a mental prison that they don't want to be in either. But because of their ego, they're unwilling to get out of it. Well, enjoy your life. Hope those things of the world and your status and your image or having someone who's indulging you in your ego makes you happy. Other people are going to be in authentic, deep, meaningful relationships. You're either creating the illusion that's what your life is about, or you're just trying to, or you really are that. And some people are going to move forward just creating an illusion that they're motivated and inspired by love too again, but that's not what drives and motivates them. some of those people will feel mad at the people in their life who wouldn't live more from their mind than their heart, who freed themselves from things that manipulated them, because it would have really seemed victorious and successful if these shadowy people, if the loving people in their life would have kept indulging them. It would have looked really victorious and successful. But some of the high vibe loving people in their life weren't willing to keep indulging them. So now they're mad. But they're not willing to do this work within themselves to view life any differently. They probably keep staying betrayed. They don't want to see the truth that they're maybe manipulative and bossy and controlling and more about themselves or ego or image or money and materialism. And because of that, they'll keep repeating the same pattern with other people. The high vibe people will leave their life, and the people who stay in their life are people who are more like them, which they maybe don't find to be a very fulfilling relationship. But if that's the truth of who they are, unless they were to do this work to become a high vibe person, why would high vibe people who are being authentic, truthful, loving, want to keep hanging out with people who aren't being that? So they're just going to have to move forward with people who are more like themselves. And other people are going to go find the people who are more like them. So there you go, Pisces. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.